The agents winning right now are not the ones with the most leads. They're the ones that own the most attention in your target market area. So over the next few minutes, I'll be breaking down the simplest strategy that's going to help you consistently stay top of mind. That way you can turn more of the contacts in your database into conversations, clients, and ultimately closings. And if you're new to the channel, my name's Tyler Roicki. I run a sales organization called The Herd at eXp Realty. We're over 300 agents strong. We sold over 600 houses year to date in 2025. So what I'm sharing with you is not theory. It's what I know that will work if you implement it in your business. So take note. And I want you to take one thing you get out of this and put it into play immediately this upcoming week so that you have an opportunity to see what the actual difference is for you and your business. The reason why this works is that you've got to have a way of staying top of mind. Because if you don't, it's literally the difference between someone coming into your world at one point and never seeing or hearing from you again versus them associating whatever that positive first impression was. Hopefully it was a positive first impression, but them associating that with added value time and time again every time they see you from that point out. Because you got to understand, you can't control whether or not someone already knows someone. Fact is, most people you're connected with, they know an agent. They probably know at least a few agents. And so how do they decide which agent they're going to work with? Is it the one that's the most professional? Is it the one that truly does the best job? Or is it the one that they think about first? So you have an opportunity, even if someone's aunt, cousins, brother, sisters, mother, whatever the case is, someone they know as an agent, you have an opportunity to outshine them in that third category, which is recency and frequency. How recently have they seen you? How frequently do they see you? You want to be the Nike of the real estate world to anyone that ends up in your database, meaning they just see and hear about you everywhere. You want to be able to have someone walk into your open house next time you host one, if you ever do, and you want that person to see you and be like, oh my gosh, I see you everywhere. Imagine what your business would look like if that happened time and time again when you're out and about doing your thing at random places that people come up to you and say that. So the way that happens isn't necessarily just because you're some local celebrity. No, it's because you have a system and a way that you're staying in front of people that come into your world time and time again. Email is the best thing you could possibly do to stay in front of people. If you want to maximize staying in front of the highest percentage of people as possible that come into your world, you want to be building a database, but you want to be using email as a method to stay in front of them. And if you do that, you're going to be top of mind every single week with the people that come into your world. And it's going to help you to build trust, authority, and inbound opportunities over time. So that's why it works. It's a difference between someone thinking of you versus not. But it's important that when they think of you, that they associate that with value and not just some noise and spam, because we all get junk mail. Think about what you get in your mailbox. We all get mail that we throw out before we even open it. Why? Because we know it's junk, and we know that based on anything we've seen from that company up to this point, it's just been a marketing message and spam. So I'm going to dive more into that as far as how you can become a more valuable contact in people's world. But what I want you to know first and foremost is there's only one metric that matters to really get started down this path, and that's new additions to your database. If your real estate business was do or die, or if it is do or die right now and you want one metric to measure, it's how many new contacts are you adding to your database on a weekly basis. If that number is very high and then you have a system in place to stay in front of people, then you're going to do really well. If that number is low or non-existent, your business is on its last lifeline, and you better do something immediately to go and add some new contacts to it, whether it's buying leads or hosting open houses or you got to do something. That's the key. You got to do something. But growing your list has got to be your number one priority to start with, because every new contact is a future opportunity if you're building trust with them over time. So I want you to start, if you're not already doing this, track weekly new additions to your database like your business depends on it, because it actually does. And then the next key point here is frequency. Frequency is what's going to breed familiarity and ultimately appointments down the road. So your conversations and conversion are going to be elastic to how often people see you. And email is going to build virtual FaceTime without you taking up your time one-on-one. So think about like this: when you send an email out, and let's say we built your database up to 1,000 contacts, and let's say we get a 40 to 50% open rate, that's 400 to 500 people that clicked and opened your email. And maybe they read a little piece of it, or maybe they watched a video, but that's FaceTime that you have without having to spend that one-on-one time reaching out to that one person individually. So it's one to many, and there's not another method. I don't care if you're on YouTube or Facebook, Instagram, there's not another way that you're gonna achieve a 40 to 50% plus potentially of your audience actually seeing your message. And that's why email is the go-to. And it effectively costs nothing. I mean, little to nothing. And it's the way you're going to get the most amount of eyes in your target market if you do it correctly. But if it's spammy, your open rate's not going to be that high. So that's a big key, is you can't be spammy with it. So what do you need to get started though? You need to pick a platform. There's all sorts of platforms out there. You got MailChimp, High Level, any platform that you can send emails through to a database, build a database of people that you're email marketing to. That's going to work. And especially you want to be able to see the metrics. You want to be able to see who's opening the emails, who's clicking it. You want to be able to sort and segment your list that way. And you want to have a simple landing page or opt-in form, that way that someone could get on your email list if they wanted to do so. And I'll speak more to how you can actually make that happen towards the end here. How can you get people opted into your email list? You'll start though with a spreadsheet of your existing contacts, people that have already given you permission to email them up to that point. And then ultimately you'll add that to your database, provided that it's people within your target market that have already given you permission to get in touch with them based on previous interactions with them. The next step is you're going to want to create your first template. Keep it simple, have a welcoming message, have a piece of added value that would speak to someone in your target market, and what to expect going forward. Basically let people know that you'll be in regular communication with some helpful insights, tips, and stuff like that. Include your personal branding, because you want to be building your personal brand. People don't want to be doing business with a big company. They want to be doing business with someone they know, like, and trust. And so I'd emphasize, having your headshot on it, use your personal branding, make it true to you and how you want to carry yourself with that. And keep it a consistent format, because it's going to be easier to grow something that's consistent in the way, the look, the feel. And then ultimately, the most important piece is the next piece. Aside from adding new contacts, that's like the front line. But beyond that, you want to find and add high value content to your newsletter. So this is going to be local insights, stories, client wins, market updates, a combination of all of that. But one of the best things you can do is figure out what the top local blogs are, where there's regularly new blogs posted for people that live in and around the local market or are interested in it. But you can take those blog posts and curate them into a piece of content for your newsletter. And you don't need much. You just need a couple of content pieces that you could potentially curate. And you could actually use something like ChatGPT, train it in your voice by feeding it things that you've actually written before, and you can program it in your voice to write and curate content in the same kind of way that you would share it. And then you can make adjustments, and ultimately it's not that you're automating it, but you're taking some of that heavy lift off your shoulders, because you can feed it in an article and then curate it back in your actual authentic voice that's true to you. And so point is, you don't got to be some content creator. You don't got to be someone who's sitting down, spending hours on end writing stuff. You can take something that's already written professionally and rephrase it into a sentence or two in your own verbiage, but then link back to the article and credit it so that people can learn and explore more. But it associates you with being that local market expert and adding that value. And then you could implement a weekly or a monthly market update, and you can segment it into one or two of the weeks. You could even cover all the weeks with that if you wanted. But point is, it should be something that is kind of fresh every week, something new, something helpful and valuable to people in your target market, but that puts you front and center as being that local expert. And then if you work with a specific niche, whether it be new construction, sellers, veterans, doctors, whatever your niche is, you can curate content pieces that are relevant for people in that target market, or educate them in that newsletter. So share relevant headlines, share relevant listings, resources. If there's any incentives or programs you want to share with people, that's all stuff that can be added value piece in the content. So the big takeaway here, though, you should be having by now is that, hey, it's not just about giving people some prompt or marketing message like, hey, yeah, if you need help buying or selling real estate, like, no, that shouldn't really be the message. The message should be straight up value add. If anything, there should be a quick and easy way to reach you if they have questions, and that's kind of that. It shouldn't come off as a salesy message by any means. It should straight up be value. The more of a value add your email could be without, an ask, the more effective it's going to tend to be, because it's going to get people actually reading it and looking at it and even sharing it with other people they know who are also in your target market. So that's how that works, but you want the cadence to be regular. It's got to be a weekly email. You should get to a point where it's being sent the same day and time of day, like clockwork every week, and you don't even miss it, and you have it scheduled to go out on that specific day. So like Monday morning, for instance, that should be a thing that happens every single week once you got it in motion, and you want to make sure that you take the time days leading up to that to plug the new pieces of information into your email. The last part here is, how to really keep adding contacts to your database. Because the only way this is going to be highly effective, two things. One, taking the database you've already built and actually staying in front of it, that's going to be super effective. But also you want to constantly be adding new people into your world. So anything that you've done to make contacts up to this point could work. Something else you could do is you could utilize lead magnets, such as free guides, or even you're running webinars or an event, like it could be a first-time homebuyer seminar. Guide could be how to buy your first home guide, but you want the guide regardless to be specific to your target market and niche. So if you're not trying to work with new home buyers, don't run a promotion to your first-time homebuyer guide. So just make sure it's true to something that would actually be valuable to people who you actually want to do business with. And you could run paid ads to that resource. That's one way you can get emails and people opted in. Or you could even just do social media posts and have your lead magnets that way from time to time sprinkled in between your content, which you could actually take pieces of the content you already have prepared for your newsletter, and some of that could be social media shareables as well, and stuff to help you with your actual content. But always ask this question and consider, where does this new contact live? Is it in your CRM? And are you communicating with that contact on a regular basis as you do with everyone else in your CRM, or are they lost forever? Because most agents up to this point in time, they're in that latter category because they don't have a way that they're regularly communicating with their database week in and week out. And if you're not doing that, you're going to lose to someone who is, because everyone knows a few agents. So it's the one that's in communication and making themselves visible and adding value, educating people, entertaining them through their content, both in email, social media, and otherwise. That's the one who's going to win, is the one who's most visible with that recency and frequency. So if you don't take anything else away from this, you want to become the Nike of people's world in terms of what you do in real estate. So when they think of you, they think of real estate. The only way that's going to happen is if they see you everywhere all the time. Simplest way to get started doing that is implement a weekly email. Go put it into play. It's a lot easier than most people think it is to get started. Literally pick a platform to start on that has the email capability and get your first template together for your newsletter. If you ask me or reach out, I'll have my email in the description below, or there might be a way you could opt into my email. I'll add in the description later. But if you need help with a template or a clear vision of what it actually looks like, all you gotta do is ask. Shoot me an email, ask me a question. I'm very reachable. You can find me on social media as well. So just point is, reach out, send me a message, let me know what kind of help and insight you need. I'm happy to share what's working for me and members of my team who are implementing this strategy and seeing results with it. So this is a video that's geared towards educating people around the local Waco market. But the beauty of utilizing, if you're doing both video and a weekly newsletter, the beauty about it is you get to leverage your YouTube content, your video content, not just for the organic reach it has the opportunity to do on YouTube, but you're also using it to nurture your target audience of leads you're generating. So that's what I do, and literally front and center there. A few people will see it from that, and it takes it from, you know, who's this random person in my inbox or whose ad I saw, and then they start to consume the content. At least the right people do. So, and probably needless to say, but think about it, with real estate, you don't need hundreds and hundreds of people. You literally just need a handful of people who are active consumers of the content. That's going to be enough to turn into actual closings that happen. But on top of that, I curate something relevant about the local market area. So what I did is I did some research and I found some blogs, right? So I have a tab here, Waco blogs, and there's a few different blogs I found, which my area is so small. I mean, if you live in a big city, you're probably gonna have a lot more blogs that are interesting than I do, but I have a few to work with. And so fact is, I can check these weekly, see what's interesting, and I can utilize one of these blog articles. And then what I actually would do, and what I did here in the newsletter, is I took ChatGPT, and again, another video for another time, but I trained it in my voice to help me with content creation. That way I can literally plug the ideas and even drafts of what I want to write into it, and then it can pop out something that's more in line with what a finished product would look like after I put a lot of time into it. And so that's what I do with these articles. So I literally give it this article and I tell it what I want it to do. I say, hey, I'm going to utilize this for my weekly newsletter. I'd like you to take this article, rewrite it in about 80 words or less in my own words and verbiage. That's exactly what it did. So as you can see here, this was the article rewritten in summary based on what I would have shared about it. So it's just kind of sharing what it is, but it also links to the article. If someone wants the full scoop, it takes them there. But I'm curating this content, and guess what that does? If you curate relevant information on the local market area, it positions you as a local market expert. That's why I like new construction. If you go to my channel here, you'll see I make videos about new construction homes. Why? Because the more you showcase whatever inventory you're going to showcase, the more it positions you as the local expert with that. So if all you do is post up videos and information on buying new construction in your local market area, guess who's becoming the new construction expert as your target audience will perceive it if they see that time and time again? You are, if that's what you're doing. Subtle call to action. I honestly don't even like to go too crazy with this. I like to keep it pretty low key and simple, if anything, because think about how the people who ideally would want to work with you feel. Is the ideal person who would want to work with you someone who would be all over the fact that they're feeling sold left and right? Or is it going to be someone who maybe they just want someone they know they can trust and ask a question to? So speak to your target audience. You don't got to be salesy. You just got to make it crystal clear on how and why they should and could connect with you, but hey, no pressure at all. You know, the point is you want to be top of mind when that question or conversation, you know, comes to mind for them as far as who they could connect with for more insight and info on what might be relevant for them. So very simple, straightforward. I've got links to social media on there, but the biggest key with this is that the name would be in the inbox. The name, the subject line, and you can't even see it here, I think, but let me see if I can pull an example up in my inbox. Here, I'll just show you the end example of it in an email. So you got to understand that a lot of people aren't going to actually read the email. Not everyone's going to click the video, but what's important is, one, they're seeing the brand. So this could be your name. This, for me, it's living in Waco, Texas. And then what's the subject line? Brand new in Waco, modern design, local builder, ... kind of intended to leave them wondering. Let me share one more example with you all. Here's the other example, what it looks like. New homes, hidden costs, and the best summer spots in Waco. So once you have all your content together for the newsletter, you can ask ChatGPT to help you with highly clickable subject lines that tie to the actual content and material, some subject lines and pre-headers. If you want to use one, you don't have to, but that's the key, and that's how you put it together. I mean, this one was literally just a link to my video, but what's the biggest key I want people to see and hear from me time and time again? And this will set the basic framework for an email that you can send week in, week out. We could go a lot more granular and strategic with it, but I just want to give you a simple foundation to work on. That way we can build upon it in the future, because there's definitely more to this email strategy. But at bare minimum, I'm going to tell you should be communicating with your database at least once a week. If you're not communicating with your database at least once a week, you're leaving a lot on the table. To give you an idea of the stats and what it looks like, let's look at the campaigns. So let's look at that most recent one. What happened with the stats? So I sent it to 50, not a super big list, but these were 50 leads I paid to generate, 34% open rate, 2% click through. And then let's see the week prior to that, literally the same thing. Yeah, that's funny. It's literally the same. So the same people got my email. What was it, the first week? And it will fluctuate. It will go down a bit, up a bit. This one, actually not as good. And I think it's because I weeded out earlier on. I wasn't clear which emails were good and bad, and then once some of them came back as undelivered, I actually weeded those out, because you don't want to keep sending emails addresses that are undeliverable. And so you want to have email hygiene. Again, that's another topic. If you know an email is not a good email, you want your deliverability to be higher, so you want to make sure that you're cleaning up the list and only sending it to people that are opening. And what's cool, if you didn't notice, I can see exactly who's opening and who's not. And that's a big thing, is like over time, I only want to keep sending the emails to people that open time and time and time again, because you don't want to get to a point where you're emailing this big list and you only got like 10% or less opening, because at that point your email's probably just showing up in everyone's junk box for the most part, and that's not what you want. That's the email strategy, the very core foundation of it. If you want to learn more about email and specifically what's working for me and my partners, you're going to want to make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss future videos. We'll go more in depth in this topic if there's enough interest. So let me know in the comments if this is something you're interested in a deeper dive on. And more importantly, if it's something that you're going to implement immediately in your business, because that's the only way it's going to ever potentially even make a difference for you. And creating your first template, like the best advice I can give you is you got to dive in. Pick a platform that you can send emails through. Create a template. You see here, I created a template so I don't have to start from scratch every week. The hardest part is creating that first template, because you just got to commit to it, get it done. It's all going to be unfamiliar, but once you start utilizing the tools, it's not so bad. And then you create the first one, and then all you got to do is plug content into it every week. It shouldn't be super time consuming. Your first one will probably take a little while, but every week from there on out, if your email is as simple as mine is, and you just need a video and or a blog article or two to plug in, you follow the steps I laid out, it shouldn't take you more than an hour total. And when you get used to it, it's probably going to take you even less time than that on a weekly basis to get it done. But you want your content to be high value. You want it to be relevant to people in your local market. You don't want it to be spammy or salesy or any of that. And ultimately, every week you should have a goal of adding new contacts to your database, however you're meeting them, whether it's digital marketing or whether it's one of the old school tried and true methods from prospecting, outbound phone calls, door knocking, hosting open houses. Like, yeah, you should be doing something at minimum to add, I'd say, at least 20 new contacts to your database every week is a pretty good threshold. But I mean, the more the better, but it shouldn't be a lot less than that, because if it is, I mean, you're depending on too few contacts for a significant income to be built up in your business. You don't want to put all your eggs in too few baskets. Make sure that you're planting seeds, watering seeds. That way you have a very nice harvest when it's time for that season. So anyway, I hope this video helped. I hope the insight helped. And I want you to do this. If somehow you have questions, or if there was any piece of this that I didn't answer clearly, I want you to drop me a comment. Let me know what questions you have in the comments. If there's anything that I can do to help and support you, I welcome you to reach out to me directly as well. Feel free to connect. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next video. I've got some exciting things coming down the pipeline that you're not going to want to miss if your goal is to grow and level up in the real estate game. So make sure you stay tuned. And until next time, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.